Good day, educators. Before I reply to the government speech, I would like to simply define clearly what we are talking about today. Political dynasties are when members of the same family occupy positions of the political power across generations ahead, right? For instance, like father becoming the president of this government, later then the son become the next governor or even the next president, right? Or maybe her sister is becoming the next mayor and etc. On the other hand, we face democracy, a system where government leaders are chosen by the people of the citizens of the country through elections, which means it values freedom of choice from citizens, representation supported by parties, and also accountability. Well, let's say this happens in Indonesia. We can take a look of the system. Political dynasties still do exist. However, they are not illegal. Why? Because even though if the father of the president, for instance, pushing his son to be the next president later then, well, he must still to attend the rule that is occupied in the system or the regulations, right? So he still needs to compete with other candidates with the help of his father image and branding that have been known in the society, that it can help the son to win the elections through the campaigns and the trust that gained from the citizens that have been built up from his father, which is automatically a win-win solution for his son. It's called marketing strategy, right? Hence, highlight this word. These families don't inherit power like kings in the real dynasties or kingdom like Brunei Darussalam or United Kingdom, because they need to still compete with other candidates who might not come from a political family, for instance, but has a great branding that they build their branding itself, so it is a fair competitions. However, I'm not blind. Yes, in many countries, there are bad dynasties in result by the voting of the elections itself. But there are also competent ones. Some families has a capable leaders who understands governance because of their exposure and also experience from other family members, right? Hence, as the oppositions, I believe that political dynasties are not inherently harmful to democracy. Underline that word, not inherently harmful. Why? In fact, they can strengthen democracy when there is checks and balance. So, let me get this clear. The issue is not about family. On the other hand, it's about the system around them that is harmful and fails. The government might prove that political dynasties as a whole always have been then helping the government, right? It can be fixed or managed. Well, they need to prove that democracy fails because of the name of the family. But as the oppositions, simply I prove that first, political dynasties can also coexist with a healthy democracy system. Secondly, the harm results comes from the poor system, right? The corrupt system that already have been built up since later than before. For example, upper government dynasty already did a good job to manage the system, but how about the lower governments? How about the staff? That it must be tracked as well, right? Back to the system and the integrity of the person itself. Don't blame just because of the family or dynasty. There are many factors that can harm democracy itself. Thirdly, removing dynasties will not actually magically fix democracy, right? There will be still no transparency or even lack of establishment or actions that have been proven in like the infrastructure or etc., right? So it can be checked by how the staff and other in the lower governance also needs to be checked. Because we can't say that dynasties, like non-dynasties politicians can also be corrupt. Isn't corruption more about the weak law too? Like the lack of transparency, yeah? not the family name. There is no guarantee that no correlations between the political dynasties and democracies failure, because nothing truly changes if the political dynasties is removed. Corruption would still be existed. Let me remind you, this debate is not about whether some dynasties are bad. It's about whether the harm of democracy more than the solutions to help. Because democracy gives people freedom to choose, right? Then if that means choosing the same person from the same political figures is okay. So instead of banning or attacking dynasties itself, let's focus on first, stronger political education. We have to foster the integrity and moral values for every political figures. We need to know them clearly, and they need to actually put them inside of their self that integrity and moral values really matters. Secondly, campaign transparency laws, which means we can establish like open debates or even fair competition, so that again with these citizens can know which candidates are truly the best ones that they want or they will choose. Thirdly, anti-corruption law, which needs to be strengthened more. With these factors, voters can determine and make a better decisions, right? Regardless the candidate's last names. Hence, banning it is not the right choice. If the son of the former president wants to rule and people love and want them, because the trust is already in that family, why not, right? Because citizens knows families in politics that already give a good impacts can serve like first long-term policy consistency, which means like long-term project being held and established, and more concrete one to establish a better future for the government. Second, more experienced advisors and more networks, which is very good for the countries. Thirdly, trust that has been built up with consistency by the family, which means this leads to better governance. Let's take a look like Singapore, which is under the Lee political family with the well-known outputs that has been established then. Many citizens adore their family because their actions, right? I understand that the government might still argue like, oh look, they're just a Nepo baby. It may look bad on the outside. No, it doesn't automatically mean that the person is incompetent or unqualified. If they were chosen by the people and held accountability like everyone else, that is democracy, even if they came from the political family. That is why, as the opposition, I strongly reject the motions because we firmly know we are winning. Thank you.